Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Anthony Joshua defends his WBO, IBF, WBA and IBO World Heavyweight titles against American Jarrell Miller, as I said, Madison Square Garden. We had a press conference last week, which I think has been seen by all of you guys, all the media around the world. The event now on sale. It was the fastest ever pre-sale, highest grossing pre-sale in the history of Madison Square Garden. And we're looking forward to a huge, huge night of boxing on June the 1st. Before we speak to everybody at this table, I'm going to pass over to the head of boxing at Sky Sports, Adam Smith, to say a few words.
Thanks, Eddie, and I was just reminiscing about Tyson Fury jumping over here as Batman a few years ago, so I wonder if anything else will happen as bizarre. Our superhero has been Anthony Joshua, of course. We're deep into a 6-year relationship with him, partnership, great ambassador for us, 22-0. We've been there every step of the way with him, from his pro debut to his British Commonwealth title triumphs, to his world title triumph over Charles Martin, and the big fights, of course, at Wembley against Vladimir Klitschko, against Carlos Takam and Joseph Parker, unifying the belts there in Cardiff in front of huge crowds, and then back at Wembley against Alexander Povetkin. We're delighted to be taking Anthony Joshua over to America, to New York, to the Mecca of boxing. As Eddie said, it was quite a press conference last week. Anthony opening the markets at the Stock Exchange in the morning, got a great reception. I know he was in America all week, and New York will absolutely love AJ coming to town. Jarrell Miller, we've been following the last 2 or 3 years on Sky, and he deserves his opportunity. He's undefeated, he's dangerous, he's a Brooklyn boy, he's going to have huge home support. It's going to be quite some event leading up to June the 1st. You'll see everything, skysports.com, Sky Sports News, and live on the night, Sky Sports box office. It's going to be a stacked card. Eddie's telling me about that. It's going to be fantastic from start to finish. And AJ starts his New York and global adventure. And like we've seen in the past, I think it's 20 years now since Lennox Lewis fought Evander Holyfield at the Garden, March 1999. You've got to make it in America, and we're right behind Anthony Joshua as he tries to do that.
Thank you, Adam. As we saw earlier on this year, the end of last year, Anthony Joshua made his DAZN debut against Alexander Povetkin, this time fighting on DAZN in the US. I'm going to pass over now to Joe Markowski from DAZN to say a few words.
Thanks, Eddie, and thanks to Adam for your hospitality here in London this afternoon. I'd also like to thank both fighters for their time, their teams participating in our international media tour over the past week. The level of interest in this fight is quite significant, and as Adam said, AJ and Jarrell spent 4 days in the US last week speaking to press, and to be honest, we could have spent another 4 days out there doing more. The New York Times, Sports Illustrated, Forbes, amongst America's biggest media outlets, couldn't get enough of both fighters, because they, like us, believe we're headed for a truly special night on June the 1st at Madison Square Garden. From our perspective, it's a true honour to be the host broadcaster for this event over in New York. Very much like DAZN, AJ has ambitions to be a global force, and to do that occasionally it means taking your show on the road, in this case over the pond. For the first time in his career, AJ will be fighting live and in prime time in the United States, but it's important to stress he's not just fighting in America. He's up against a dangerous opponent in Big Eddie Miller, a man with almost as much to say as anyone else in the game, so it's going to be a great night. With so many Brits and New Yorkers making their plans for June the 1st, we're just very excited about the event and looking forward to hosting all of you in New York on the night. So thanks very much to all, and thanks Eddie.
Thanks, Joe. I'm going to pass over to Team Miller. It was very well documented about struggles to make various fights for Anthony Joshua. It wasn't easy with Mr. Salita and Greg Cohen Promotions, but we got it done. And also I want to say a thank you to Dean Baker at Wasserman as well for their help in getting this fight over the line. Firstly, Sarah, talking on behalf of Greg Cohen Promotions. Greg's not here today, but a big fight for your company. Obviously, you've been involved with Jarrell for a big time. Some huge noise last week in New York, and getting ready for June the 1st.
Absolutely, thank you, Eddie. On behalf of Greg Cohen Promotions, I'd like to thank Eddie, Matchroom Boxing, DAZN, of course, Dimitri, Sky Sports. I'd also like to introduce this fabulous woman. I don't know where she is, in red suit, you can't miss her. Alvina House, and she is the engine behind Team Miller. I've known Jarrell for about 7 years now. We've been introduced by a mutual friend by the name of DJ Self, in New York City, and he founded Cardi B. He told me about this fighter named Big Baby. I'm like, Big Baby. Like, I didn't take him seriously until I actually saw him fight. He supported me as a woman in this boxing business. He's been by my side, and for that, I'll forever be in his corner. He's improved every single fight. He started out as a kickboxer. He came up in the rankings, not through the amateurs, but through the pros. He came up the hard way. He didn't have all the accolades Joshua did. But there's one thing that Jarrell has that you can't teach a fighter, and that's how to take a punch, how to have a great chin. He's never touched that canvas. He's been kicked to the head and not gone down. I've recently seen Joshua in New York City, partying with Danny Jacobs, looking for condos, and that's cool. You know, everybody wants to be in New York City. New York City is where dreams are made. You know, Madison Square Garden is the mecca of boxing. I get it. But with all that being said, DAZN, Barack, you can give him all the Yankee fitted caps. You can give him the Timberland boots. That's not going to help him June 1st. There's going to be a new heavyweight champ, and he's going to be from my borough, the best borough, Brooklyn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dimitri, me and you have been talking for many years now about Jarrell Miller. You told me many years ago he was going to be the guy to beat Anthony Joshua, and June the 1st you made it happen, maybe ahead of schedule a little bit, but it's on, and you believe you have the man to be triumphant at Madison Square Garden.
Thank you, Eddie. First of all, I'd like to thank Eddie Matchroom, all the people behind the scenes that are making this fight happen. Jarrell's trainers, Harry and Erlan Sosa, of course, Alvina Alston, our team publicist, Greg Cohen Promotions, Sarah. It's a great honor to be here today. And of course, I want to thank the fighters, Jarrell Miller and Anthony Joshua. Anthony for putting his money where his mouth is and traveling all the way to the United States to fight what I believe is the toughest fight of his career in Madison Square Garden in New York City. Jarrell's been pro since 2011. Over the last 18 months, he's made great strides, being the busiest top heavyweight in the world, and beating the best available contenders in a very impressive fashion. Sometimes seemingly opposite forces exist in great fighters, and they do in Jarrell. He's incredibly big, incredibly athletic, incredibly fast, incredibly active in the ring, and that is why I believe that Jarrell is the toughest opponent that Anthony Joshua has faced to date. Anthony Joshua, as of today, is the best heavyweight in the world, and he will be until May 31st. But on June 1st in Madison Square Garden in New York City, the new king will be crowned from Brooklyn, New York, following the footsteps of Riddick Bowe, Mike Tyson. Jarrell Miller will be the new heavyweight champion of the world.
Thank you, Dimitri. We're going to move to Jarrell shortly. Before we do that, we're going to pass to Rob McCracken, NBA. Rob, a new test for Anthony, new territories. It's exciting times. He was out in New York last week. But as I said, a new territory in Madison Square Garden, New York, and a tough challenge in Jarrell Miller.
Yeah, he's got a real good challenger. This is what heavyweight boxing's all around, about the best fighting the best. And he'll look forward to it. I mean, he won the Olympic Games gold when he was a relative novice internationally, and he's just moved on very quickly from there. Well, he can really fight, as you know. He's had some real good opposition in the professionals. He's already on a real good learning trajectory. He's going to see him do what he needs to do in the sport the next 3 or 4 years, which is become undisputed and maybe do something else with his life. I keep telling him, but he keeps laughing at me, so we'll see. But yeah, he's a phenomenal fighter, a phenomenal talent, and he hasn't had nothing easy, I can assure you. There's this myth that AJ's had everything put on the plate. I took him to the Oxide tournament in Hungary when he was a complete novice, and he drew the Russian and the Uzbek first 2 fights with a tiny ring, and he was a novice, he had no business being there. And he beat both of them, and ever since then, he's got something that, you know, you just don't see in other fighters. You'll see that on June the 1st as well. Great challenger, great fight this will be, but, you know, Anthony will be ready and he'll deliver on the night.
Obviously a new challenge in the venue as well, but a new challenge in Jarrell Miller in terms of the size of this opponent as well, and trying to prepare for something that Anthony's never faced before in that respect.
Yeah, he's big and he's good. He can box a bit, he can fight, but you know, he'll adjust Anthony. I remember he boxing Kuzman in the tournament. I think he boxed Kuzman in the boxfight tournament, Josh did. And Kuzman's a big guy as well, but obviously in general, he can box a bit, he's got good boxing IQ, he knows what he's doing, he's well schooled in the time that he's been a fighter. But he's stepping up, and he's stepping up with somebody who hasn't achieved all this for nothing. You sometimes listen to people talking, and I just think, my God, because to achieve what he's achieved and to beat the people that he's beaten in his short journey and already to be where he's at, he has to be a little bit special. And you don't underestimate the opponents. He knows how hard boxing is. Anyone can upset you if you take them lightly, but he won't take anything lightly. He'll train diligently, he'll train hard, he'll prepare as best as possible. And he's like what you need in pay-per-view boxing. He understands the business, he wants to entertain as well. So winning's one thing, but obviously entertaining, and with your first fight in the US, it's a big night for him, but it's not one that will phase him. He'll be ready, he'll be prepared, and he'll deliver a performance on June the 1st.
Jarrell, welcome to the UK again. You've been here a few times now, and now you're sitting here just a few months away from challenging for the World Unified Heavyweight Championship at Madison Square Garden.
UK, what's up? I guess a better mood you can say. I had a cup of tea, and just chill, man. I already said what I had to say. I know how I feel about AJ. I know my backstory. I know where I come from and where we're going. I'm so blessed to be here. I just can't wait for June 1st. Thanks to my team, thanks to my new manager, Walt Wasserman, and all the UK fans that's gonna tune in and giving me support. And we gonna do the thing, man. And I've been hearing it from the fans themselves. They say AJ's too posh. His nose is okay sometimes. You don't give two licks about him right now at this point to me. For the underdogs, so all the underdogs out there that people tell me they're not good enough or they're too fat or whatever the discreet that people want to discriminate against you, don't listen to them, just keep pushing, man, because I'm a proven factor that with hard work, dedication, 1 or 2 cheeseburgers and a cup of tea, you can go real far. And let's go to work June 1st, there's going to be fireworks, and it will be that saying I love so much. And you got that smirk on your face, man. And they do, and I can't wait. So tune in June 1st on the Zone for $9.99 and see me kick some butt.
Well, we saw the bad blood last week, but from a boxing perspective, what is it that you see that makes you think you'll be victorious on June the 1st?
That's the problem. You think, I don't think. I don't even think. I just get it done. The way my mentality is set is that any task in front of me, I just go.
To follow in the footsteps of some Brooklyn greats to win the World Heavyweight Championship, what would it mean to you personally?
Winning the title means a whole lot. Like I said before, we know we're going to win the title. The title is one step greater to what we want to accomplish in the future. And that's to change life, help change countries, do positive things in the community and around the world. And just being a role model, not a role model. Not put makeup on and pretend to be something that I'm not. So winning the title, yes, is the main goal right now. But we know that we're looking in the future to do amazing things around the world and just be an ambassador of the human race, and that's what we want to do.
Thank you, Jerome. Anthony, welcome back from your trip to the States. It was a lively week. I think you enjoyed yourself out there. It's something very, very different. And now, just a few weeks away from beginning camp for a very important part and chapter in your career.
Yeah, New York was 10 out of 10. There's nothing like being back on UK soil. Get my head down and then get back in routine and regimen, and that's how I like living my lifestyle in a regimental format. And focus on what I've got ahead of me, really, and that's Jarrell Miller. I'm not fighting none of his team members or anyone that can speak for him. I'm just fighting him, and there won't be much words being said in that ring except for punches being exchanged. And it's just a battle of the fittest, battle of the smartest, and the last man will be standing.
We saw for the first time last week you with a slightly different mindset and approach at the press conference. Do you enjoy that? Normally,
I love it. That's what I live for every day. It's just another opponent. You need a dancing partner, right? You need a dancing partner, and Jarrell's a good dancing partner. And I'm only champion until June 1st. That's when I'm going to go out there to the battlefield and defend my stripes. And then June 2nd, Jarrell will be irrelevant, and I step forward onto the next task ahead of me. So It was a good time in New York. Danny Jacobs showed me love, came out, looked after me. I met some of the New York people, radio stations, went up there, took over New York for a week, and we had a real good time.
Just following on Rob's comments earlier, a lot of people suggest that you've been, given these opportunities.
I come from a great family. My mother raised me well, my father raised me well, my aunties and uncles, my cousins, my brothers and sisters. We all looked after each other. My cousin was fighting at the time. I got banned from the area I grew up in, getting in too much trouble, moved out of the area. I sat down at boxing when I used to drive my cousin, because I was making money, so I had the car back then. So I'd pick him up, take him to training, and I'd sit back and I used to think that looks easy. He lent me £25, it was like $30. I went and bought a pair of boxing boots, he borrowed me some shorts, I started training. I got beaten up a bit, I picked a few people up. And then from that point forward, I realised, do I want to smoke, drink, face the verge of jail, or do I want to focus on boxing? And when I used to get, if you look at the state of my hands, this ain't from boxing, this is from street fighting. So I just used to realise that I want to kind of get in trouble for fighting on the streets, or I realised I used to get a pat on the back for fighting when I boxed. So I started boxing. As I said, boxing to me ain't about Jarrell Miller, ain't about Tyson Fury, it's about me. What does it make me as a person? So I changed my whole lifestyle around, I've changed my family's lifestyle, and now we're impacting the community with one of my friends over there. We've got some real good plans to kind of take some positivity to the community. And that's what it means to me. Like when we first time, me and Rob used to train in your garden. We didn't have no gym. We would just train in the garden on the grass in the heat and just grind it out really. So I think because I sit myself down and look in the mirror, as he said, Jarrell said, there's no makeup, no fantasies, just reality, hard working, smart working, strategic planning that got us to where we are today. It looks easy, but that's what the people who are great make tough tasks look easy, right? And that's what we've been doing the whole way through. Everyone talks about how difficult this business is. We're in the same business. I'm not in no different business to what anyone else is going through, but we just calculate every step and move forward and never complain, never cry. When Rob was chucking me in there with Olympic champions, 2-time world medalists, when I'd only been boxing a year and a half, I had to swim deep. I didn't get chucked in the shallow end. Like, I wasn't no part-time kickboxer or boxer. I went straight to boxing and I took over the game. And that's just what I continue to do. I was thinking about it today on my way here. I still got 10 years left. I know Rob wants me to cut that short, but no. This is all I know. This is all I do. As I said, I don't know no football, no rugby, no NFL, no basketball, no kickboxing. I know how to knock people out, beat them up. And all that spirit that this boy's got over there talking his shit, I'm gonna strip it from him. Every ounce of spirit he's got, that's what I do to people. I'm gonna strip him of his soul in that ring. Talk about 7 rounds, I'll still be in there fighting strong. And if he's still in there, look at his face. I'm gonna reconstruct his face on June 1st. I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
Finally, you answered my question, but the spite from you, despite you say Jarrell Miller is irrelevant, is there a spite aspect from you want to go in there and do a job?
I do the job. And I'm a good boxer, heavy-handed puncher. I've beaten better opponents than any heavyweight out there. And Jarrell, I'm going to just reconstruct his face and his body June 1st. I'm looking forward to it. So, landlord in the States, surgeon. I'm going to be a surgeon in the UK and I'm going to give him a new makeover.
Thank you, Anthony. We're going to pass to Sky Sports News, I believe, who have some questions.
Of your opponents. Jarrell says he's never been knocked down. He's been kicked in the face as a kickboxer and never been knocked down.
That's a great question to ask him because he got no chin.
Do you need to not only knock him down but knock him out over there to make a point?
100%. Knock him clean up. 100%.
Because obviously it's going to be there'll be lots of Brits there, but there'll be lots of his fans there as well.
Yeah, I said I want a lot of New York fans there as well because it just shows that we're kind of, like people doubted us when we took this fight in the States and they discredited Jarrell Miller saying that he's not popular, I ain't got nothing going on in the States, this ain't the fight that people want to see, we're going to struggle to kind of do numbers in MSG, but we flipped that upside down and it's been a great promotional journey so far. And with that being said, as you said, a knockout needs to happen as well to kind of announce myself in the States, because he does all the talking outside of it, and then I'll do the physical stuff in it. And when I go in there and do business, it kind of makes people realise that I'm a force to be reckoned with.
Big Baby, are you going to be ready to cope with a very, very loud British contingent, maybe 10,000 Brits on your back?
This shit was going. Say one more time.
I was going to say there's going to be a lot of AJ fans at Madison Square Garden. Very, very loud, very, very partisan as well. Are you ready for that?
Man, I'm ready for anything, man. The odds has always been against me. Like I said, man, the fans can't fight for me. That facial can't fight for him. You know, biting his nails can't fight for him. All that nervousness, all that bullshit hype talk can't fight for him. You know what I mean? Like, this is what I've been doing. That's where I came from. So, like I said before, he's not the popular one no more. I come to UK, I'm swearing I'm here AJ. I'm here Tyson Fury now. You know, he come to New York. He come to New York. He talking about, yo, after you got AJ, you gotta fight Deontay. Like I said, he's a sucker, bro. He's a sucker. And I mean, I can freestyle right now.
Oh, let's go. I'll beat you in every department.
He can't beat me that. Trust me, he can't beat me that. No matter what he do. And he stick like dude. He wish he could beat me, but he look like Scooby-Doo. He's not ready for me, bro.
He said he's going to reconstruct your face. Would that make you as pretty as him?
There's not much I can really do to that face, but that's really reconstructed.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a handsome brother, and I know what I can do, so trust me. I know a couple girls around my stand at roof.
That's a lie.
So like I said,
I'll give you the website.
like I said, listen, all the meat cows he be eating, bro. This beef right here, you better get ready for it. That's all I'm saying.
Ready?
Alright.
Slow cooked.
Whatever.
Slow cooked.
Thank you. And thank you too for almost behaving. And thank you for an exceptional turnout today.
I don't want to scare Adam Smith, man. He's been a good guy. So.
We like Adam's faces. We like playing that.
Don't worry.
Guys, I've said as well, we're going to make this a very, very special night. We've got some major announcements coming in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have the British and Irish on completely one side of this card at MSG. It's going to be a night you will never ever forget. Thank you for all your support here today and in the build-up to this fight as well. All the guys are going to be available for one-on-ones and obviously in separate selected media areas. And we're going to have a face-to-face up here now on the stage. Thank you for coming and we'll see you soon.